Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us to learn more about the new Regional Manager Pool volunteer opportunity. I hope you are as excited as we are. My name is Katie Tabling, and I am the Associate Director of Program Assessment with Alpha Kappa Psi. I will be joined on the webinar this evening by Lisa Goldstein, the Fraternity Manager for Operations and Resource Management. Tonight we will go through the purpose of the Regional Manager Pool, the process for joining and being utilized in the role, and the upcoming training available. At the end, we'll take your questions and hopefully be able to give you a great overview of everything that has to do with this new twist on the Regional Manager volunteer opportunity. Before we dive into the content, I'd like to review the web-based features available to you. This webinar will be advanced remotely, but at the bottom of your screen, there are multiple application widgets you can use throughout the program. I encourage you to utilize the widgets to download additional resources, connect with other attendees during the presentation, and share highlights via social media. A copy of the slide deck and other additional materials are available in the resource list widget that looks like a green folder. The group chat is available for you to interact with other attendees and the presenters during the presentation. When posting, it will share your first name and last initial. If you have any technical difficulty, please click on the Help widget. It has a question mark icon and covers common technical issues. Additionally, each of the windows on your screen are also able to be resized, moved, and adjusted to fit your individual learning need. At the end of the program, we will have a Q&A portion where you can ask Elisa and I any questions you may have. If you have a question throughout the program, however, you can launch the Q&A widget to submit your question. Your question will be asked at the end of the program in the order they are received. This feature will remain open even in the on-demand viewing, and if you do not get your question answered this evening, we will respond via email. Okay, let's get started with the purpose of the Regional Manager Pools. The role of Regional Manager is not new to the volunteer structure of Alpha Kappa Psi. What the Regional Manager Pool will allow us to do is ensure that there is consistent training and resources available to the individuals appointed to these positions. The Regional Manager Pools will allow for consistent recruitment, selection, training, and utilization of regional managers across the fraternity. The Regional Manager Pools are groups of volunteers that are trained to serve as subject matter experts and appointed to the position of Regional Manager to assist the regional management team in a specific functional area, such as risk reduction. The biggest change to the role is that the regional managers are now designed to be project-oriented, with most individuals focusing on shorter-term assignments that will enable increased utilization of regional managers. This is reflective of a trend that we're seeing in the volunteering community where volunteers are unwilling or unable to commit to a longer-term volunteer role but still wish to be involved. This role is designed to be completed in a shorter period of time where you may be able to commit to completing a task but unable to commit to a year-long position within the organization. To launch this new concept, 4 initial positions were determined to be developed first. These initial areas are risk reduction, ritual, membership, and finance. Additional roles may be added in the future.
The process by which the Regional Manager Pools will be created begins with the application phase. Interested volunteers will fill out the online application, which can be accessed through the Alpha Kappa Psi volunteer webpage. This application is also available in the resources section of this webinar. Volunteers can submit applications for more than one regional manager functional area when filling out the same application. However, if selected and trained for multiple functional areas, volunteers can only be appointed to one functional area at a time. Following submission, applications will undergo a vetting and selection back-end process by which the applications will be reviewed, and then volunteers will be notified that they're able to start the training. Training for the Regional Manager Pools will be managed through Alpha Kappa Psi's online Learn Track in the MyAKPsi community. The Learn Track will be a series of steps to train volunteers on the topics associated with the functional area or areas of the Regional Manager Pools. The online training will include readings, e-learning videos, worksheets, manuals, and other educational tools. In-person trainings will be conducted on an as-needed basis, with the first in-person training to be held at Convention in Dallas. Continuing education will also be uploaded to the Learn Track as needed, and recertification will occur every 2 years. At this point, upon completion of the training, the regional manager would be eligible for appointment by a regional director to assist with a project. If a volunteer is trained in more than one functional area, they are only able to be appointed to one at a time. For example, if a volunteer applies for both risk reduction and membership, and then is selected and trained in both areas, the volunteer can then only serve in one at a time. In this example, let's say risk reduction to assist a chapter with setting up a chapter judiciary board. With shorter, task-oriented projects, the volunteer could complete the work to establish the chapter judiciary board and then be entered back into the regional manager pools to be eligible for appointment again in either membership or risk reduction. We will cover more details on the appointment process in a moment. While not a comprehensive list, this slide shows some of the major topics that will be covered during the regional manager pool training for each of the functional areas. There will also be general topics covered that will apply to all of the regional manager roles, for example, change management.
Thanks, Elisa. Let's talk a little bit about how a regional manager would be appointed within the region under the new structure. So this is a process that has changed a little bit from previous appointing process. So in the past, regional managers were appointed by the regional director, and we were given what their role is, and that was it. And we were given a start date, and essentially they're in that role until they are removed from that role. What makes this process a little bit different is that a regional manager would be appointed for a specific amount of time to complete a specific task. So the first step in this process is for the regional director to identify a need within their region. It's to identify a need for a subject matter expert to complete a specific task. Each of these will have specific project goals, deliverables, and a timeline. And this is to help the regional manager be as effective as they can be in their role. The next step is the regional director selection and appointment process. So the regional director has identified a need within their region for a subject matter expert. They've identified these project goals and deliverables, and now they're looking for a qualified candidate to help complete this project. So they'll receive a list of all qualified volunteers from the regional manager pool, and that stems from all volunteers completing their training. That's how you would then be identified in the system as qualified. We may have be looking for someone in a specific area. If the regional director, one of the deliverables is that they have to visit the chapters, we may be looking for someone who is close to that particular chapter. There are a lot of different factors that would affect what list that regional director receives. When the regional director receives that list, they get a copy of the regional manager's application, any past project reviews, and any other documents that we have within a regional manager's profile that would allow the regional director to make the best selection to fit the needs of their students in the region. The regional director will have the opportunity to speak with the potential regional manager candidates before they make their selection. Once both the regional director and the regional manager are in agreement that they are able to fulfill the role, the regional manager would then be appointed for the project by the regional director by completing the actual appointment form. The next step in the process is for the regional manager to actually complete the assignment or the task. Regional manager will then work with the regional director, the regional management team, and student chapters based on the scope of the project. For example, if a regional director determines that they have a need for chapter audits to be completed at the end of the year, they could potentially go to the regional manager of finance pool to look for individuals that are able to help complete those year-end audits of their chapters. Once that regional manager has been appointed, they would then contact the student chapters to get all of the necessary documents and information they need to complete those audits. And then once they've completed the audits, they would share that information with the regional management team and with the regional director, as well as go back to the student chapters to provide advice on how they could improve or areas of concern, whatever they found during those audits. At that point, then the regional manager's task or assignment has been completed, and we move on to the next step, which includes feedback and review. So what's really important and really exciting about this portion of the project is that both the regional manager and the regional director will be able to provide feedback on their experience. The regional manager can provide feedback on whether they've had cooperation from the student chapters, on if they were given enough information to actually complete their task. The regional director can also provide feedback on whether they had good communication from the regional manager throughout the project, if they felt that the project was completed in a timely manner. All of those things would be able to be captured in this post-assignment feedback and review. The feedback and review would then be added to that regional manager's file to be shared with the next regional director that looks to appoint that individual. What's also useful about this information is we can then look at that feedback as well and potentially suggest additional areas of training or things like that that could help that regional manager to continue to grow in their position. As we've mentioned throughout this presentation, training is an important part of being a member of the regional management pool. The training for these positions will be a combination of online training through the fraternity's learning management system and a special in-person training we're offering this summer. At this year's convention in Dallas, regional manager training will be held as part of the College of Leadership. This training will be required as part of the regional manager pool, although we realize attending convention may not be an option for everyone, so we've come up with some additional opportunities. You'll be able to either attend the in-person session at convention, view those sessions live via Zoom video conferencing, or by viewing the recorded trainings later online. The sessions will take place mostly on Saturday, but there will be a required change management session that will take place on Friday during College of Leadership. Change management is a really important part of what we are hoping the regional managers will be able to assist chapters with, either being adjusting to bridge or working with a chapter that may have just gotten on probation and needs to do some change management with the culture of their chapter. So that will be part of the requirements for completing your training as part of a regional manager. And then on Saturday, we will have individual sessions throughout the day for each of the 4 positions. There are some additional College of Leadership sessions that could be beneficial for those that are interested in these regional manager pools, especially those that are interested in ritual or membership. There's a couple Bridge to Brotherhood sessions that would be very good for them to attend on Friday if you happen to be in person at convention, as well as a ritual session on Friday afternoon. On the screen, you can see that we have posted the times that these are going to happen. We did do the individual sessions on purpose on Saturday, hoping that if you're unable to attend convention, you could potentially view these live via Zoom if you're available. All of this will be on Central Time since we will be in Dallas. The convention schedule will be updated to reflect these times.
As a resource, we would like to recap some of the details on the regional manager pool. First, to recap if volunteers can be trained and volunteer in more than one subject area and region at a time. Yes, volunteers can apply and then be selected and trained in more than one regional manager role at a time. As my example stated earlier, risk reduction and membership. However, the regional manager can only be active in one subject area at a time. That being said, a regional manager can volunteer in more than one region at a time. For example, if a regional manager of finance is working with a chapter in the Eastern Great Lakes region on budgeting, they're able to also work with a chapter in the Southern Bluegrass region on a finance-related topic, be it also budgeting, an audit, or another project. Why should someone volunteer in the regional manager pool? As Katie covered earlier, there are some specific benefits to volunteering with the regional manager pool. The regional manager pool is creating standardized training and resources for the regional manager volunteers. This will enable volunteers to have specific subject matter expertise. The regional manager pool also puts Alpha Kappa Psi at the forefront of a trend to have more project-based volunteer opportunities without a long-term commitment. With varied project types, lengths, and deliverables, volunteers will be able to assist chapters and students on a schedule that fits their specific volunteer needs. Additionally, the regional manager pool will increase the actual utilization of volunteers, as regional managers will be able to volunteer outside of their geographic region and in projects that are in their area of interest or expertise. If you are currently a regional manager, you may be wondering if you are able to stay in your current role. The answer is yes. Regional directors can still appoint year-long regional managers, provided that there are specific projects and deliverables that the individual is working on. All year-long regional managers will also be trained utilizing the same MyAKSI Learn Track. Additionally, regional directors are also still able to appoint regional managers outside of these 4 roles. These 4 positions will be trained and standardized fraternity-wide. At a later date, the fraternity may review adding additional subjects to the regional manager pool. Finally, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Contact information for both Katie and I are listed on this slide and the Alpha Kappa Psi website. Likewise, the application can be found in the resources section of the webinar and on the volunteer page of the website. For additional resources related to the Regional Manager Pool and other Alpha Kappa Psi events, programs, policies, and so much more, please visit aksi.org. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about the Alpha Kappa Psi Regional Manager Pool. At this time, we will take questions that were submitted through the online platform.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the webinar tonight. I did get a question from David. If you cannot attend the conference and would like to attend via online, will the times be available on the website for scheduling? So those times are set, and we will be having that posted on the convention page of the website in the next couple of days. They are throughout the day on Saturday. Once you've submitted your application and it has been approved to move forward in the process, then you'll receive either an email or as part of the online training, there'll be additional information about when you would log in for those training sessions. The online education that's going to be offered via our learning management system will be at a on your own time, at your own pace basis. We did receive another question here. Elisa, do you want to take this one? It's how will regional managers be evaluated on the success of their projects?
Yes, thank you for this question. So regional managers and the regional directors at the completion of a project will complete a 360 review. So no different really than a lot of people have in the real world in their jobs. This is something that we are formulating and we will make available once you're in the regional manager pool. The success of the project, though, at its core will be based on the original parameters that are agreed upon by the regional director and the regional manager. So that is a conversation that should be had before the regional manager accepts a project. They should be having that conversation to say what is the exact deliverable and outcome that is desired.
Thanks, Elisa. So for our next question is, for the year-long roles, do these reset after 1 year or are they permanent? So a regional manager could be placed for a year-long position if the task requires that long of a commitment. If not, we are moving towards a system that is going to ask for annual recommitments to their roles. So anyone who's part of these regional manager pools will be asked every year, do you still want to be involved in these pools? So that they will be given the opportunity to let us know if life changes have happened or they just are no longer interested in the role. And it's no harm, no foul. You can step out of the role. We'll go ahead and take you out of the pool. Or if you're willing to stay in and you want to stay, then you'll still be available for appointment into different tasks. And just as a follow-up to that, yes, regional managers can serve in the same role, say regional finance, for multiple regions at the same time. So if you are in the role of regional manager for finance in Pacific Northwest. And there's a similar task that needs to be completed for the Valley Crossroads region, and that RD would like you to complete it for them as well. You could be in that same role in both regions. Lisa, do you want to take the question about how regional directors and chapter advisors will find available regional managers?
Yes, so we at the Heritage Center will be keeping the pools active and keeping the information on the pools. When a region needs a regional manager for a project, the regional director will access this pool through Katie at this point, given current technology. So if a chapter advisor feels that they need regional manager assistance for the chapter that they work with, they should go up through their chain of command, whether that's through a section director, regional director, whatever that may be. And the regional director would be given the available regional managers from the pool based on the criteria that they need. So for instance, if it is a project that does not have any location restrictions, they could be given, let's say it's a regional manager of finance and you're doing an audit, and they can be given available regional managers from across the country. If there is location considerations, for instance, if this is a risk management issue and a on-campus visit is needed, then we would work to provide the regional directors with a list of regional managers that suits their needs. The regional director would also be able to see the regional manager's application, any past deliverable reviews and any of those deliverables in order to find the person that best suits their needs. So again, audit's an easy example. If there's a chapter that needs an audit and the regional manager, regional director is looking for a regional manager, they could see based on past deliverables who has worked on an audit before, for example.
Awesome, thanks Lisa. It looks like we have another great question. What is the ideal person for a regional manager role versus another role? And that's actually a great question. The regional manager role is a fantastic starting point for recent graduates. I mean, there's nothing to say that there is any kind of perfect regional manager per se. It's a great opportunity for someone who is maybe not able to commit as often or as long as some of the other positions, such as a chapter advisor, which requires a lot of hands-on long-term commitment. This is something that's great for those that want to maybe just volunteer for shorter periods of time when they are available, as well as people who have experience in the 4 areas that we are wanting to launch.
And we just got a question in about the 4 roles that are being launched and if any other are being planned for the future. At this point, we are just starting the pools off with these 4. So these will be the ones that are available as the pool. If, as we said, another regional manager position is needed, that would be up to the discretion of the regional director to create that position, but we could work with the regional director to craft a job description or a position description if that was needed. As far as the future, that'll be something that we reevaluate after we get some success with the current pool.
Awesome. And then we were asked if we could provide some hypothetical examples of a project for any of the 4 areas. So I know we've talked a lot about the regional manager of finance. It's one of the easiest ones to talk about because an example of something that would be done with, say, a regional manager of finance is if a region had a lot of chapters that were on collections, they may employ a regional manager of finance to help educate those chapters on how to stay current on their bills and figure out what the issue is so that then they could provide additional training on fundraising. With the rest of the fraternity going on to Bridge to Brotherhood this year as the pledge education process, the regional manager for membership is going to be really important in helping chapters that have not had to do bridge yet to get familiar with that program. And then for the regional manager of rituals, a great example of something that they would potentially be asked to do is usually in the fall, most of the regions host a regional assembly. And so if they wanted to host a session on how to properly conduct court of honor, that would be a great opportunity to utilize a regional manager who's trained in rituals to come in and prepare the students and teach them how to properly conduct court of honor according to the ritual. And then regional manager of risk reduction, there's a couple different things that I can think of to share with you right now. Regional manager of risk reduction will also be utilized not just by the regional directors, but by the Judiciary Committee. So if an investigation needed to happen within a region, they may be called upon to assist with that investigation. Another more positive use for the regional manager of risk reduction would be to, again, at those regional assemblies, help proactively teach the risk reduction policies and how to conduct activities as a chapter in a safe and fun way. Those are some examples of some different tasks that these regional managers may be asked to complete. Elisa, do you want to take the next question from Ian?
Sure. So the question came to us about whether we recommend current volunteers like chapter advisors apply to this role, if there's any recommendation about serving in 2 roles. And I believe that this really is about your ability to serve and your time commitment. I think it's going to be different for every individual. There would be no problem when we review your application if you already serve in a position, for instance, chapter advisor, just provided that you are able to commit the time to both roles as needed.
Awesome. So at this point, it looks like we have answered all of the questions that we currently have. If anyone has any last-minute questions, go ahead and feel free to submit those. If not, I'd like to thank you once again for listening tonight. We hope you are just as excited about the regional manager pools as Elisa and I are. We've been working on this project for a little over a year now, so we're very excited to see it come to life, and we hope that everyone who is interested will go ahead and fill out that application, and we will get those reviewed and start the online education as soon as possible. Elisa, do you have any last words?
No, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.